All right, are we ready?
Oh man, we're ready to rock.
Welcome to Staring into the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Michael Patrick Hicks.
Got my NFTs, baby.
Matt Brandenburg.
Happy 100! Woo!
And the Vitlame Mist.
Eating a pizza. Woo!
Woohoo! And we have a special endeavor to announce Abyss NFTs available number.
So what are these NFTs? What are we doing with this?
I don't fucking know.
We just announced that we have NFTs and people what?
I guess
they will invest.
They will invest money.
Yeah, like Abyss bucks.
Abyss bucks.
Abyss bucks.
They're
only
like
fruit bucks.
You can only make them work on the Abyss store, and they expire in a day.
Is that how they work? They expire?
I have no idea. I was just thinking of like when you go to like an amusement park and they always have like their like Disney dollars and stuff, but they're always like really specific to like 5 places and they only work once.
I'm so lost on this whole NFT conversation. I know a publisher recently announced that they are going to be doing NFTs for their ebooks, I guess. What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. Blue?
I don't know. Is that better? I don't get it. How is it different from like reading on a Kindle? You were trying to explain this to me before the show, and you said that they have to log into a website and verify their identity.
Well, they have to use blockchain. So like there's an app to download. There's different types of blockchain apps to download to get access to. But I don't know what that equals to like reading an ebook.
Because what is a blockchain?
A blockchain is a private server that is completely encrypted, so nobody can access it except for its owner. And it helped to keep it encrypted. It's constantly resetting itself and then re-verifying its data that's inside, which is why blockchain, like crypto and NFTs, use blockchain technology because it's super encrypted, but it's also constantly refreshing itself. So it's consuming a shit ton of energy.
Okay.
I'm just going to pull my old man card and nope my way out of this fucking thing.
Okay. So this specific publishing company that he just said has actually put up a statement here, and I'm going to read it for you.
Oh, well,
they put a new statement? Because I've read the original statement.
This is what I just got. We pride ourselves in giving our authors every opportunity possible. We feel it is our duty to keep up with current trends and stay abreast of new opportunities for our authors and publishing company. My husband, Timothy, I'm not going to say the publishing company, has been studying and working in crypto for years now. We have decided to move forward with turning some of our books into NFTs. NFT stands for non-fundable token. It is essentially a piece of digital art. This will not affect the publishing of our regular books. Everything on that end will proceed the same. These books will be chosen specifically for an NFT per the author's request. Our first book up is Gone to the Dogs by Mark Tausey. We understand that some do not agree with NFTs or do not understand them. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to email us. We will help you in any way we can. More information to come on this soon. We hope that you will come along with us in this next journey. That's what they said.
If it's non-fundable, how do you buy it?
Exactly.
Yeah, the whole process, don't completely understand it.
I don't get it at all.
All I will say is a bunch of people are super mad at this publisher. And like, if you want to be mad at the publisher, fair, be mad at the publisher. But at the same time, it's like, I'd rather support an independent publisher in publishing books than support a multi-million-dollar company selling off shitty DeviantArt ripoffs for NFTs.
Yeah.
Like, not focus on the NFTs. Like, I don't think it's fair that people are just throwing all this shit at this publisher right now because they're being dragged on Twitter.
Literally, the only thing I know about NFTs, it's a bunch of rich white guys stealing artwork from DeviantArt artists and selling encrypted JPEGs from the sounds of it. That's my takeaway. And I don't know how that translates to ebooks or how you read them.
I think the same thing you're thinking, Mike. And I know a bit more about this. And even then, I'm like, I don't get how an ebook NFT works. But
yeah,
if they
I read an ebook on my Kindle for the portability and the ease of access.
Yeah.
If you do an NFT, does that mean in order to read it, you have to be at a computer terminal and logged into whatever the fuck
No,
you go to? I don't get it at all.
What I think, and
I'm also too fucking old for this technology.
I'm
looking tired,
it up.
I'm old.
So what I think is going to be interesting in the long run is why this publisher is doing it. Because kind of what I'm reading, NFTs are supposed to be for an artist to kind of control what their product is. It's supposed to be. It might be different, but just from what I'm reading. So theoretically, an artist can sell it. What I'm reading online, artists can sell it directly to the consumer as an NFT instead of having a gallery or an auction sell their art. So basically what it sounds like is you're sort of cutting out the middle person, and you're selling directly to the consumer. It doesn't have anything to do with like how you can read the book. However, what is interesting is that the publisher is almost like is being that gallery. You know what I mean? Like instead of the author saying, I want my book to be an NFT, so I have complete control over it, which goes to Mike, what you were saying kind of before the call with piracy and stuff like that. You have complete control over it. Putting a publisher in between there makes it seem like you don't, because theoretically, is the publisher owning the NFT of your book, or do you do it? So like, are they going to sell the rights back to you?
They're being really vague about it.
Yeah, it's so that's where you're seeing all the rich people in the future coming, is they're buying these things and they're putting their own NFTs on it, saying like this art's mine, even though it's not. So maybe, so you could look at it as they're trying to help. They're assuming the future, this publisher is assuming the future books are going to be NFTs. So they're like, let's get into it early, so the author maybe has the NFT for their book before anybody else does it. However, again, it's the publisher offering this in NFT. So it's really confusing, is in like, will you have to buy that right back, the rights back to the NFT of your own book? Or are they just managing it and saying like, well, we'll get this all set up for you for an extra cost?
I mean, it's overly vague, and what's going to happen to your, rights to your own stuff if they go belly up?
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, if the publisher closes its doors, what happens to that server these things are stored on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I guess it's one way to do. I guess that you could probably do like digital limited editions. There might be one aspect to it, but
yeah, and
I don't know.
This reminds me of is we talked months ago about the Amazon, whatever that thing that Amazon was doing for books.
This is a serial thing.
Yeah,
or Vela, whatever the fuck it is,
whatever it was, and
is
that's
it even still around? I don't know.
What this is sort of sounding like when you kind of read about like the riskiness of it. Is it going to last? Is it going to be worth doing it? What are you going to do if it doesn't work out? Some people, what I'm reading again, is comparing it to say like putting all your money in Beanie Babies and assuming that you'll be able in the long run make more money off of it.
Nope.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows, how this will work.
I don't find their approach. I mean, if this is going to work for them, I mean, that's great. But their approach to others, people gently suggesting them to do a lot more research, or maybe, talk to the authors that they already signed up for before announcing this, because it seems a little shady for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm out. I just don't get it. And I'm not really interested in downloading even more fucking apps to read one book.
Right?
Not worth it. I'm not honestly going to get involved, but I think it's just unfair for people to drag like an independent publisher while at the same time, like watching all the new Star Wars stuff on Disney when like, if you're gonna like throw stones about this, make sure you're not in a glass house.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, publishers and authors, we got to eat. If that's the trend, if that's where things are going, if they see that this is where the wind is blowing, then, God bless them if it works for them. But I don't have any particular interest in figuring out what hoops I need to jump through for it. I just think of, like, I've got Amazon and I got Audible. Yep. And then BookBub wants me to get a daily deal with their audiobook on Chirp, which means now I got to download Chirp. But then I get an email from Simon & Schuster that they want to give me a free ebook, but I need to download this other app to do it. And I'm like, no, this is turning into like the streaming services where you get 20 million different apps for every little thing. One person is using something different. Another publisher's using this. Amazon's on that end of things doing their own thing. It's just, I don't have the time or the patience to sort through all this digital clutter. You know, I want to download my book and I want to read it, and the Kindle does it, and I'm fucking glorious with that. That's all I need.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would be nice if they shared what the contract looks like and what that all means.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good luck with that one.
Oh, yeah. Right. Exactly. So that's where the tricky part is. And I don't know. We'll see where this goes. It's all, I don't know. In the end, it's all just whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting view of material at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you get really philosophical because that's like all cryptocurrency is just, you know, this is just a step of that, and people complain about that and like how that's sort of made up money, but in the end, money's all made up. So
yeah, I mean, money's fictional. It's a psychological thing, but
yeah,
much like that Kindle Vella or whatever the fuck, Kindle Vellum, Kindle Worlds. I don't know what they're up to now, but that and NFTs are kind of on the same boat. Where I'm like, if you're even still around in a year or two, I'll be surprised. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody that uses either of them, so good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
And NFTs, I can't even find somebody to explain to me why I should be using it, let alone.
Yeah. Mike, at least for something like this.
Don't use them at all. Like,
I'm
honestly,
never going to. What use are they?
They have no use.
No one can tell me what is beneficial of it for me.
Nothing's beneficial of it for you.
Yeah. Exactly. So if there's no benefit, why?
It's a bunch of rich tech billionaires telling people this is uncentralized and we can make money off of it. But really what they're doing is they're selling this idea to poor people to get them to put money into this currency that is centralized because rich tech billionaires control it.
Yeah, it's just another pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
It's like literally before this podcast started, I got an email saying somebody tried to get into my Coinbase account. And I'm sitting here like, what the fuck is Coinbase? I don't have a Coinbase account. I had to Google what is Coinbase to try and figure out what the fuck this is. And ultimately, I'm guessing it's just more spam because I don't know what the hell it is.
What if you had 1 million Coinbase bucks and you didn't even know it?
Is it worth anything?
It could be.
What is it, like 50 cents USD?
It could totally be worth Coinbase pants and shirts. You could live in a
Coin. You can't even get a Canadian dollar off of it. So fuck it.
A loonie? Come on.
A loonie? Yeah, maybe I can get some yen.
You could get Abyss bucks.
There you go. Abyss bucks are new. Bucks. So with the Abyss bucks, what can they buy? Are we selling anything, or are we just?
We're selling absolutely nothing. Just the opportunity to listen to our 100th episode special.
No.
Speaking of selling things, really quick, Matt. Last week we made an offer that people could send you $5 for a picture of your balls. Did you get any takers? Has anyone reached out?
Not my balls.
Has anyone contacted you for this exclusive offer?
I cannot confirm nor deny this.
I think for our 100th episode, we need to have like a special.
An NFT confidentiality agreement.
Yeah, $1 a nut. We're good to go.
$1.50 and you get both. It's a deal.
I can't believe nobody contacted you for that glorious offer.
Just wait. Hey, you made that offer, not me. They knew. It's true.
I still say we're better off with an OnlyFans than an NFT.
Yeah, I think so too. At least there's a direct way to get currency and money and get a service from it as well. What
That's right.
Provide us nothing, just a code. At least OnlyFans give us like something to entertain ourselves with.
Yeah, like if you do an NFT ebook, like I still like. Do you get a Mobi? Is it a PDF? Like
Yeah,
so
I don't think
lost.
I don't think it has anything to do with the actual book and everything to do as the owner of the book or as the author creator of the book. So like as a user, you wouldn't know. You would get probably put into jail or space jail or something if you gave that book to somebody else.
I could do hard time in space jail.
You think so?
Space
Yeah, I think
jail.
I could cut my teeth there.
They don't charge anything to see their balls.
No, that's gratis. That's on the house.
And it's space balls, so
In fact, it's even a little bit of a la carte.
God. It's all spacey.
Yeah.
So that's our 100th episode. Yay!
Actually, what our 100th episode is we're going to be covering The Nest
Yes.
by Gregory A. Douglas, which we
Yeah.
covered on our very first episode that
Bit
has
of
never
abyss
been
lore.
released.
Yeah,
So-
I even have my notes up, and just to give a reference to everybody, the date of the notes is June 1st, 2019.
Wow.
So
Man. I can't believe we've been at this that well. I mean, technically our first episode launched in October, but yeah, we had a lot of mishaps in those first few weeks / months.
yeah, I was looking. The next one we covered were some Etchington stories, and after that, I stopped taking notes.
Yeah.
So only 2 weeks of notes.
Stop taking notes.
We really stuck to it. That's the professionals.
Yeah. Right. I was like, oh, I got this podcast thing. I got it figured out.
I found my notes as well. I've got a 3-page Word document that is not in an NFT format. Anybody could hack my computer and read this.
Oh my God. I'm like, yeah, my notes are insane. I don't even know what I was thinking for some of these. I have one where it's like old woman with gun ready to blast punk in the nuts.
Oh yeah, that was the neighbor. That lady was a complete Karen, by the way.
Oh yes, she
This
was.
book is absolutely ridiculous.
Yes, it is. But in a
At
fun,
times-
glorious kind of way.
Well, at times I felt like I was in a biology lesson.
Yes.
Yes.
Like I was
Yeah.
reading a biology textbook, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what's happening?
Yes.
You really got into like how cockroaches reproduce and
In an excessive way.
yeah.
Well, you could study this.
I don't know. I think all of that was worth it just for the anal trophallaxis.
Oh dear Jesus.
Or the cruise or the boat scene with all the kids. Like
Yeah.
that was brutal.
So are we diving right into this?
I think we should give a weekly rundown first and then just go right in.
All right. So
All right.
we'll jump
Sample
on
thing.
back over to the weekly column.
Yeah. Have you guys heard of Peacemaker yet?
Yes.
I
Not
did watch that. I watched that first episode.
I
Gonna
watched
watch it
the
tonight.
first two. Yep. I got the
watched the
first two.
3
Nice.
twice.
Twice.
It is so much fun.
Who else is going to start yelling freedom as they climax? It's just me.
Oh my God. I actually didn't, well, not to give anything away because Vitme, I know you're going to be watching it, but I did not expect that in that first episode. I was like, oh, we're going there. All right.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a very hard R HBO series.
It's a
I
follow-up
mean-
to Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They went full HBO where they like HBO is like that kid that knows how like can swear and so is super happy. So they're going to swear a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining about the swearing or
No.
the sex or anything, but
No.
they did went very like because we had watched the movie, not the first one, but the most recent James Gunn one the night before. And then you watch this one. It's still him, but it felt like HBO saying like, oh man, we're HBO, go for it. And so he's
Yeah.
like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah, this definitely pushes the envelope a little bit further than the movie did.
Yeah, it was definitely like, oh, we should turn the volume down just a little. Sorry.
Yeah.
He did do a
Kids.
bit to make Peacemaker a bit more sympathetic than he is in the movie.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to redeem him. There's a whole
Yeah.
angle with his father that is pretty disquieting. Like that was,
Yeah.
I did feel a bit of empathy for him, and he's not my favorite character from that movie. So I was kind of concerned about what a TV show was going to be like surrounding this guy, because he ultimately was pretty despicable.
Yeah. I like his friend Vigilante. Vigilante's hilarious.
I haven't seen he hasn't shown up yet, unless he's the guy I think he is in the first episode. But
yeah, he's in costume, shows up in episode 2. But I'm pretty sure I know who he is.
Yeah, but I liked it. I felt it has like it's some of the wrestler vibes. I don't know if you guys saw that movie way back when with Mickey. Yeah, because you know how that's sort of like dreary and depressing, and this guy trapped in time, and that's what this is. So trapped, like he's so trapped in this 80s mindset, and like you kind of feel bad. I mean, like he's very racist and very sexist person. Though you see his father and you kind of see where that's coming from, but he's so like wants to be nice to people. Like he doesn't understand what he's saying and doing is not right. He just and this is all he knows how to do. So I kind of like felt bad for him. Like the wrestler, you feel bad where you're like, well, that's all he's got. That's all he knows is to wrestle. And now he's wrestling in this like weird back alley barbed wire thumbtack war. And that's the same for John Cena. So
yeah, I was going to say, John Cena is playing him, right?
Yeah. And he's great.
I love John Cena. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this.
He's kind of like innocently clueless in a childlike way, but also it's so weird. Like,
it's super weird.
The one quote that killed me in the first episode is after he's finished having sex and he's looking through the girl's record collection. It's like, man, this is back when men were real men, you know, because they weren't afraid to be women.
That's what I love that. And that's all, like, it just everything. He is like this childlike, like he's stuck because like before that, or like when he's trying to make friends with the when he's showing off eagerly to the and I can't remember what her name is, and at first it seems really nice, but then he always goes a step too far. And you're like, oh dude, you were kind of being redeeming at this point, and then you had to add in this extra bit about a third arm and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He has one thing in episode 3 when he's talking real quick and he's like, yeah, just like I made that girl climax 4 times that night. And they're like, dude, too much information. He's like, oh, I was trying to sneak it in there. You guys notice?
Yes. I think that sums him up.
He's basically if Ralph Wiggum were a racist superhero.
Oh my God.
I almost spit out water.
The janitor in the opening as well.
Oh, the janitor was
grandma.
The janitor was great.
Oh, that was brilliant.
The opening credit sequence is perfect as well.
It's absolutely perfect.
It's funny. We got to that part on the second part. My wife was like, yeah, we don't need to see that part again. You can skip it.
And I watch it every time.
So, yes, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think you'll love it, LeMay. If you like the movie, you'll definitely enjoy this continuation.
I mean, it kind of has like the boys vibe, doesn't it?
A bit. Yeah, I would say it's kind of running a little parallel to it, but very much James Gunn sensibilities to it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I loved the James Gunn's Suicide Squad, so yeah.
It's just a little bit more hard edge, a little bit more extreme than what Warner Brothers let him get away with in a theatrical superhero release, even as an R-rated movie.
Yes.
Also, is it me or does Robert Patrick still remind you of the T-1000?
Yes.
Always.
He shows up in this. He plays the dad, and he shows up, and I was like, it's the T-1000.
Yeah.
Just his hair is a lot taller.
He is such a perfect douchebag.
Yes, he is great.
I mean, we're still watching the X-Files and him still, in that season. I'm like, I always go if we like get these kind of quips like, oh, look, the T-1000 could have done this better.
Dollars for donuts, Agent Scully.
Yep. So I just cannot not see him as just the T-1000.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and that's it. Yeah.
Well, you might see some different shades of the T-1000 in this.
Oh, okay.
right.
The show's a lot of fun. I so far highly recommend it. It's better than. I'm going to withhold my opinions on one show until the finale, but let's just say I have a lot to say about Yellow Jackets by the time I watch the final episode.
Oh, okay.
But,
What is that on?
Showtime.
Okay, that's why. Like, I've heard a lot about it, and then I was like, well, it's on something I don't have. So just like our NFT discussion. I don't have time for
I'll
that.
say with Yellow Jackets is it had a really strong opening and a really strong first half. And the last 2 episodes have kind of ruined it for me.
That's disappointing.
So we'll see how it ends. I should see it through season finale just to like see the season through before I cancel Showtime.
Right.
Yeah, had a strong opening, and now that's point I'm watching it to laugh at. Like it's the plot got very laughable to me.
That's a bummer.
But Mike, what about you?
Well, this week my son and I were sick with COVID. He brought it home from school, and it pretty much decimated the rest of us. He got hit the hardest. I only had like very mild symptoms, but I was completely out of it for most of the week and definitely had a lot of fatigue and COVID brain. So all I was able to do, and it was tough to even focus on it, like the first 3 or 4 days of the week, was read today's book, which was a reread for me. So I just very slowly got through The Nest for a second time in 4 years? So yeah, that was it. Other than watching Peacemaker, it was just kind of not a whole lot happening. Just being sick and not wanting to do anything.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling better, Mike.
Me too. Thank you.
Me too.
Matt, what about you besides Peacemaker?
Oh, yeah. All right. So let's see. I'm looking up what I just read because all right. So I did not, I started reading our book for next week. So.
Oh, in fact, I started that this morning. I was going to mention that, but we're talking about it next week. So whatever.
Yeah. So I'm not going to go into too deep about that, but Chad Lutzke's Cannibal creator. I will say, even from the beginning, he introduces a couple kids. And knowing what this book is and what his plan is, I'm just like, oh, Chad, what the hell?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm about halfway through it. It's a quick read. It's a novella, so it's not going to take up a lot of our time. But I am looking forward for him elaborating on the opening premise a bit more. Yes. I'm very excited to see what comes next.
So that'll be that. Yes, that'll be a discussion for next week. But I did start that. I was catching up on the Deadlands, which is like a literary journal all focused on death. I think it's somewhat new. I think it came out earlier in 2021, not this year. And they're, I think, at issue 8 or 9, and it's either stories or poems or nonfiction. It's all kind of revolving around death, and so it's interesting. It's a new journal, and I don't know how many people are reading it, but it's definitely worth checking out. But what I did kind of read was not horror, but sort of horror is. I had gone in November in Chicago to C2E2, which is a big comic book convention there, and I always kind of troll the Artist Alley. That's where some of the bigger artists are there, and then there's like a lot of little people there selling their stuff. And then sometimes authors sneak in, and there's this one author, Christopher D. Schmitz. And I always have a little love for fantasy, and his books looked like pretty fantasy. And then when I was talking to him, he worked with this before Wizards of the Coast owning Dungeons and Dragons. It was TSR, and TSR created this other whole world called Dragon Dice or something like that. Basically, this guy wrote books based in that world, and I was like, "Hey, I'll give him a whirl." And then he was like, "Oh, if you like Frankenstein's monster, you'll love this book." And I was like, "I do like Frankenstein's monster, so I will read this book." And so it's your typical kind of fantasy, not like any of the newer kind of fantasy stuff that's digging really deep into a lot of other things. This is like straight up sort of Lord of the Rings, but more Dragonlance-y kind of thing, but set in this other world. So you got like your dwarves and your elves and all that kind of crap. It was very entertaining. The Frankenstein's monster is this 4-armed, like patched together thing. And he's pretty cool. It was fun to kind of like get into that story because like he thought he was alive and he thought he had a dad, but then everyone thought he was a monster. And so all the villagers went after him. So very Frankenstein's monster kind of story. But then the heroes pick him up and it turns out he's really awesome at punching goblins in the face. So that was fun. So, nothing that will blow your mind or take you into a new direction or take fantasy in a new direction. But it was decent. It was a fun time to read, especially around this time of year when everything's just kind of blah because you're after Christmas and snowing like everywhere. And you're in the middle of, I don't know, COVID 2035. So like I needed something that was a little bit more familiar and just definitely took the cake. I did try to read the second one and I got about halfway through and I said, no, I'm done. I don't care about any of these characters anymore. So that was fun. But, it's a year. You can finish. You don't have to finish books. So, yeah, that's me. That was my life.
Bit LeMay, what about you?
Well, sorry. I've been just reading this book because, this week this was actually my last week at work.
Woohoo, no more retail.
No more retail.
Yay.
Retail sucks.
So liberating.
It is indeed. So, but yeah, so in the meantime, after I got home from work, I've just been reading the story that we're covering today. And oh, what fun that was. but we'll get into that later. But I did finish one series. It's called Stay Close. It's on Netflix and it's a British series. And it's based on a book series, I think. I can't remember the name of the author or anything like that. But it's kind of it's a thriller series. And it has a lot of good casts of actors. One of them being Richard Armitage.
Oh.
What?
Yep. You almost can't recognize him, because in my head, I always see him as Thorin from The Hobbit.
Yes.
And then you see him there, and you're like, huh. But you know what? The beard you had for Thorin actually really disguised your nose. Now I can see nothing but your nose. It's just a triangle of a nose, It's really sharp. It could, put someone's eye out. Aside from the nose staring, it's really interesting. It's about this woman. She's about to get married, and on her bachelorette night, she comes home, and suddenly there's this envelope with a name that says Cassie. In the beginning, her name is Megan, but she used to be known as Cassie. A stripper, like when she was 17 years old. So it was a past that she was kind of running away from. And at the same time, there was this guy in this kind of nightclub who goes missing. And it all connects together to this girl and the police. They are investigating it. And there's just everyone is involved. And it's just every single episode, you're like, wait, now him? Why? And at the point, I think I was about halfway into the series, I just jokingly said, okay, the next person who's going to be involved is going to be that lady detective's 2-year-old son. Because it was like everyone was involved. and he had no way of knowing who the actual killer was. I was guessing the entire time, and in the end, I didn't even know. And I was like, oh, I did not expect that. And it ended really well. So I definitely recommend checking it out.
I was about to start, was it Archive 83? I was about to start that today.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, people have been saying really good things about that one as well.
Yeah, that's the new James Wan series, right?
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
It does look really. It's the whole like lost media type shit. That's one of my vibes. So I need to check that out.
Well, I got word Netflix is raising their rates again. So if this keeps up, they're not going to be long on my subscription.
Same.
Maybe if you buy some NFTs, you'll be all set.
Now, if Netflix, would that be like an NNFT?
Or be like
or would it just be an NFT, Netflix tea?
Netflix tea.
You can drink it. That's how they produce they send all the content to your brain is through drinking their tea.
Uh-oh, better watch
that. Also, before we get started, I do want to give a book that I read last week a shout out.
Yeah.
I finished up Sloth by Joanne Askew.
And?
Debut novella, and it's fucking fantastic.
Now, is it about the animal sloths?
It's about a disease called sloth.
Oh.
That turns you into a sloth?
Pretty much. What it does is...
What?
It makes your muscles and everything tighten up and tense up and move so slow, and you just like slowly lose all your body functions until you die.
And you poop once a month?
They don't atrophy or anything like that?
Like, it always comes down to you and pooping.
Muscular atrophy, the book gets into a little bit. It's only a novella, but the idea is like if people let their heart rates rest too much, the illness takes over. And once the illness begins to take over, you're going to die. Like it's going to slowly kill you until you die.
I like the sounds of this.
It takes in a post-apocalyptic England after the sloth has turned society upside down. And it focuses on a lesbian couple, Lana and Tolly, who, before the novella has started, Lana had a child from a previous relationship named Kane, and that child was killed in the initial kind of sloth society falling apart. So we have this lesbian couple. Lana's mourning the death of her child. Tolly's trying to be there for her wife as society's crumbling around them. And they're trying to make it to a place where they believe is to be a safe haven. And as they're doing this, a lot of people are blaming like gay people and lesbian people for the reason sloth has happened. Because, you know, the gays are always blamed for new diseases. And
tornadoes.
And tornadoes and everything wrong in the world.
Yeah.
And it focuses just solely on their relationship and their struggle to survive together as they're trying to make it to this location they heard is a safe place to go. And it's like a 90-page novella. It's wonderful. I highly recommend it.
I'm going to have to check that out. I've seen it cross my Twitter feed a few times. I am on board. That sounds great.
And as Haley Piper says, make horror gay as fuck. And this book is very gay. It's aggressively lesbian.
Nice.
So we need more like aggressively gay horror stories. So I'm here for stuff like that as well.
Well, before that, I think we're going to just be talking about another white guy writing a horror book in the 80s.
Yes. For that, we're gonna be getting into. Are we ready to go into The Nest? Because I am.
Oh God, yes.
All right. So The Nest is written by Gregory A. Douglas, which is a pseudonym for the author Eli Cantor. Eli wrote, I think, 2 books, and his literary career flopped, and he tried writing horror and did 2 books in horror and then vanished from the world. So that's all. That's all you need to know about the author. He's a middle-aged white guy who I think it's safe to call misogynist based on reading The Nest. Would you agree?
Just a bit.
It was a very 80s, circa 1950s take on women's place in society.
Oh my gosh, it infuriated me.
It infuriated me when I read it too.
It's like, oh, women are supposed to be soft. And I'm like, shut
Oh my God.
Soft and gentle. And they
soft
make
and
a lot
gentle.
Of,
and
they make a lot of
be in the
fish
kitchen.
Soup. Yes, they have to make soup and sandwiches a lot.
I like how, what was it, though? Our main woman character, she like is really like well defined in the beginning, and then by the time they settle things down, she's relegated to like cooking food and making sure everybody's okay. And like all agencies instantly removed once like the group gets together.
Yeah.
It's
until she finally finds her place as a damsel in distress in the finale.
Well, and I even see it.
Sorry.
Oh, go on. No, go on.
I thought it was also, when they introduced the female scientist, they had to put in like, oh, but she was also beautiful, and I'm like, fuck you, man.
I was just gonna bring that up. That's literally one of my notes from way back when. It says, "Sexy, beautiful, blonde entomologist doctor taking attention away from poor old Liz."
But guys, she did have a damaged hand.
Yes. It was like mentioned at one page and then never spoken of again.
A damaged hand.
I like, well, shit, I already forgot what her name was. Was it Elizabeth?
Elizabeth was the main character, and the female scientist was Wanda. Of course, she had to be named Wanda Lindström because, Swedish. And I'm like, so do you have a thing for Swedish women?
I thought it was kind of odd when, like, Liz, she's going to college, she's trying to get her place out in the world, and then she meets Wanda, and she's like, oh, she's such a beautiful scientist, and now I finally understand women's lib.
Right. I was like, what?
Oh, my God.
Like, no,
they take her
honey,
so seriously. No. She's not viewed as a woman. She's a scientist.
Oh, my God. I cringed so bad at that.
Oh, God.
And also just the poor use of words. I mean, this author hated the word "said." Absolutely loathed it. I think I saw one or two instances of him using "said."
Oh my gosh.
Other than that, he did not use it. At one point, he used "ejaculated."
Yes! I remember.
Yes.
And I was like, why would you use that? Why did you use "exclaimed" if you were going to use a word? Why "ejaculated"?
He definitely had a thesaurus on hand as he was writing.
Yes.
Yeah, he was definitely being paid by the word for this and had to come up with as many large words that he could. It's like he broke out every $5 word he owned.
This
you know what also got me really rolling my eyes when the scientists were explaining everything in a fucking textbook fashion. My goodness, it was so fucking boring. And he decided to say all the villagers were looking at him at awe, and I'm like, no fucking no, they wouldn't. They'd be raising their hands and having a lot of questions.
Yeah. And the one guy that works at the garbage dump is thinking, this is what it's like to be at Harvard.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
You know what's great about this book? The
cockroaches.
Well, the cockroaches are pretty sweet. There's a lot of...
Involving the cockroaches is so over the top and ridiculously fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This book is false.
So damn disgusting.
Yes, there is not a violent moment that does not go completely unexplored. Every
it's like
abscess
every
they
orifice,
create, every hole they go into.
Yep. It's nothing is spared.
No.
They always go for the eyes.
Yes, be it man, woman, animal, child. They are. Yeah,
I know.
Everyone is violently decimated, and that is explored in excruciating detail.
Another example of him, the author being a misogynistic asshole, is during the death scenes. As we mentioned, they go into every fucking orifice, and he goes into detail when they enter the girls' vajayjays.
But not just their vaginas.
No, I know. Also their buttholes.
Yeah.
But at the same time. But at the same time, why didn't he go into detail if they went into the guy's dicks?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Why didn't he do that? There's a hole there too,
Little cockroach on urethra action.
A small one, but there's a hole there.
I will say though, I still love the scene for its ridiculousnly with the guy fucking a pile of leaves.
What the fuck was that about?
That was so crazy.
Have you ever just, have you ever just laid down on a pile of leaves and be like, oh yeah, I'd fuck that.
Yes. Oh my God, it's just terrible.
and you like be in this predicament. You're naked, you have your hands tied in handcuffs, and you're just like, yeah, this might be a good time to just fuck some leaves.
Yeah. Oh, this feels so good. It's like, what?
I've never felt a leaf feel that good.
No, right? It's just like, no, they're crinkly and they're not soft, man.
No, and I mean, and this is set in the summer too. So those are like leaves from a year ago that are all dried out and crunchy.
Yeah.
No thanks. No, that's not.
Oh God. Yeah, I just had to laugh. Didn't a lady find him doing it?
Yeah, the Karen. What's her name?
Hildy.
Hildy, yeah, the batshit neighbor who like owns the police.
Yeah. I remember that being really confusing. I'm like, who actually ran that island? It was all sorts of it wasn't like the mayor. It was somebody else.
No.
It was called, the grandfather, basically.
The selectman.
The selectman.
Yeah, but it was like that. Yeah, Elias Johnson, he was like the captain, but then there was this Stephen Scott. I think he was supposed to be like a little bit higher up.
Yes.
I'm still kind of pissed off that he didn't get his comeuppance.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it kind of feels like it should have been, in this type of an environment,
I don't remember what did he do that deserved comeuppance. I'm drawing a blank on him.
He didn't tell them about what happened to the Laidlands and the Tintons and stuff.
Yeah, he kept their supposed death secret.
Yeah.
Although I guess you could kind of figure it out after that when they don't show up anywhere.
Yeah. But apparently they weren't at Harvard, so they didn't know.
Yeah.
They were too stupid to know,
Yeah. I also love how I'm kind of skipping forward too, but I have the nerdy scientist guy who becomes the action hero by the end of the book.
Yeah.
Yes.
And massive sex object too. He is.
Oh my God.
Lusted over like nobody's business.
That was so unnecessary. I was like, I kept telling myself this can't have been done as a B movie because, come on, it's so typical. And then Rich told me that it has actually been adapted as a B movie, horror movie.
Yes, it was. And there's a lot in this. I think particularly the science lectures remind me very much of those 1950s B movies where they're getting lectured and they have to do these big exposition moments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And those sections of this book just drag it to a fucking glacial pace. I mean,
Yep.
You're going on about, there's cockroaches getting up a guy's cock and up a woman's ass and burying their ears and cutting out their eyes. And then it's now it's time for 50 pages about cockroach reproduction. Let's turn it over to Dr. Hubbard.
And how they eat.
What about, you skipped over the couple having sex and the cockroaches eating them while they're having sex.
Yeah. Basically, if you fuck leaves, you get eaten. If you have sex, you get eaten. If you're walking down the street, you get eaten. If you're a Karen.
If you're peeping, you get eaten.
Yes.
The girls were peeping.
Yes.
Yes. And
I know
that's right.
The nude punks that are visiting the island. They're not the
Nazis
locals.
And everything.
Yeah.
The smoking marijuana cigarettes.
Nazi drug addicts from off the island that the teenage daughters are breaking out their binoculars to spy on while they nude sunbathe.
Yes. Oh my God.
One of my favorite moments in the book, though, because I just remember reading it and just my jaw dropped was when he just has the whole chapter of the kids leaving the island on the boat and they all get eaten by cockroaches in vivid detail.
Yes.
Yes.
I was I can't believe he went there.
Maybe because I'm desensitized, but I didn't find that as shocking. I didn't think that he went into as much detail as with the other first ones, the first murders. Didn't feel like that. Or maybe I was just anti-sensitive. I was like, oh, the kids are getting eaten. Okay, I don't care.
Get me back to the science.
No, because we didn't get to know them at all. So I'm
That's true.
why should I be invested in this? I'm sorry, they're all gonna die.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Were those the kids that like were on that like that had to like do some like jumps and bridge and everything like that? Or was that a different group? I thought there was a group of kids. There was a group of people on a boat.
Yeah.
And they had to get back onto the island.
Yeah. Like there was a storm and the boat was like getting teared apart by the ocean and the waves, and they had to go through the rocks that were by the shore.
Yes. And I just remember that.
And that's when they the children either ran back into the sea, got and drowned, of course, because that's the best option. But then again, their drowned bodies were just put back on the beach for the cockroaches to eat. I'm like, okay, well, that's a big point. So yeah, I was like, I mean, it's horrible, but I was more shocked about the dog's death. I actually like skipped over that. I'm like, no, I don't want to read this. Nope. I don't want to hear about this.
The thing is, like, for all the faults this book has, there's a really fun premise, like, at the core of it.
Yes. It's basically like, what if Jaws or Piranha had been written as a cockroach instead? you know, you've got the summer beach scene. You've got all these mysterious deaths that are piling up in the beginning when no one can figure out what's happening.
You got the automatic scientist who's telling them, "No, you're wrong. We have to we have to research this."
Yes, no one's firing that hole until I get my pictures.
Yeah, what the fuck, man?
He's over there doing like a J. Jonah saying, like, "Get me pictures of cockroaches."
Is that the brain?
Yeah,
Yes.
That's God. It's just so crazy.
Yeah.
At least in Jaws, you like. I still crack up that this like majestic island has a huge dump on it. That they're just like, it's cool. We have this giant dump full of rats and now cockroaches.
Yeah,
And
it's a great
it's
summer
like,
island, Matt.
Yeah.
Just ignore half the island because it's just covered in filth.
What a prestigious island to summer vacation on, next door to the garbage dump.
But it's funny though, because they were saying like, there are a lot of people that come here to vacation, but we as villagers, we hate them.
Yeah.
It's like, where do you get your money?
Yes, like then why be open?
Other places are like that. I know people who like live on the Cape, like Cape Cod, and whenever like summertime opens, that's like the big business for Cape Cod, because that's when everyone goes to vacation. And the people who live there year round, like a lot of them hate all the people who come to visit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you get these punks that come and they want to have sex with everybody.
They're smoking marijuana and they're fucking leaves.
So I guess I get that.
Well, Matt, I would think you would be able to relate to that, because I know we're downstate.
Wait.
No, let me finish. We are downstate in Michigan.
Yeah.
But you go up north, they look down on us. We're like the trolls because we live under the bridge.
This is true.
So there's that's a definite element here.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. That's for sure. They were, that made sense a little. Didn't make sense, but I understood it.
Yeah.
At least I don't go up there and be like, oh, there's a giant dump here. That's pretty cool.
So this book came out originally from Zebra Books in 1980, which is shortly after Jaws and Piranha. And I mean, it basically is those movies, but with cockroaches instead of sharks or piranhas. You know, you get these people that get drunk and go off into the woods to fuck, and they get eaten by cockroaches. You get people that go skinny dipping, but instead of getting eaten by a shark, they come back to land and get eaten by cockroaches. It's just,
everyone gets eaten by cockroaches.
Yeah. So
you
fun
get eaten by cockroaches, and you get eaten by cockroaches, and you get eaten by cockroaches.
Yeah. Fun little fact that I dug up apparently 4 years ago when we tried to talk about this book the first time. Villemay was surprised that there was a movie based off of this book. Given that it is very much inspired by Joe Dante's Piranha, that movie was originally produced by Roger Corman. Roger Corman's wife produced the movie adaptation of The Nest.
The one that was released in 1988, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So see, it all came full circle.
Yeah,
there
I
you go.
saw the trailer. And yeah, it's basically a B horror movie, but at the same time I'm like, whoa, there's a lot of like gunk and slime that they're using for the bodies. I kind of want to watch it and see. Let's definitely see if they're gonna add the fucking scientific mumbo jumbo,
Yes.
or if they're just like, nah, we don't want to do that. Let's add more horror and gore and stuff. Because I think they kill off Elias in the movie.
The movie is very different. I did see it, and I don't remember much about it, but I know that the ending is completely different.
Right?
They change a lot about Wanda is kind of the antagonist in the movie.
Of course.
I actually found some notes that I took when I watched it in preparation for the first episode that we were supposed to be recording way back when. And I'm trying to go through it, and I don't really remember what happened about any of this. Like, I'm reading the notes, I'm like, none of this sounds even vaguely familiar. So that's how much of an impression the movie adaptation left on me.
The trailer at least showed, in the book, a dog was brutally killed by the cockroaches. But it seems like in the trailer, they switched it to a cat. And I'm like, nope, not going to watch it.
Yeah, so apparently in the movie, it's the mayor is trying to bring a corporation in order to infuse the island with cash by developing the land with condos. And the mayor is Elizabeth's father. And she's a journalist now. Instead of a college kid home from the summer, she's like investigating this corporation and finds the first gory remains of a dog that has been eaten by the roaches and his corpse left behind.
We didn't talk about the dog's name is Sharky, by the way.
Yes, it is. It is named Sharky. That's right. And I mean, the dog, Bonnie Taylor is the character that takes the dog out in the book as she's going out for a picnic lunch and the dog gets eaten. And that's basically her entire pretense as a character. Like, her whole existence initially is wrapped up in having witnessed this murder of the dog. But then her character arc becomes she falls in love at first sight with one of the Portuguese sailors.
Yes.
Who also ends up being killed by the roaches, and she's convinced she'll never find love again.
Yep. And just to make matters worse, that character is the only Black person in the book.
Yes. Yeah, she's the only Black woman in this book on an island full of white people who are initially somewhat taken aback by having a Black woman on their island.
Yep.
But
yes.
They finally come around that I guess she's not all bad, regardless of the color of her skin.
Because he's feeding us.
Yeah.
She's feeding. One thing
she was a housekeeper and a cook. So I'm like, wow, that's really putting it to the bad stereotypes, you guys. And the racist remark.
But I mean, her whole arc is falling in love at first sight. And then when that man dies, she's convinced she'll never find happiness again. It's just ridiculous.
Every woman needs a man to make them happy.
Yes.
Yep. Which is funny because, in the beginning of the book, he made a huge statement about Elizabeth's mother being like this really independent woman and stuff. And of course he had to put it like really negatively.
Yeah.
And then he had to put they had to say oh, thankfully Elizabeth wasn't anything like her mother. And I'm like, the fuck?
There's a lot of misogyny in this book. It's crazy.
Yeah.
God.
Like reading it, your time ported back into the 80s, and especially like an 80s mindset of like how a lot of people viewed, especially men in the 80s, viewed the world back then. And it's aged rather poorly, I'd have to say.
Yeah, it is very definitively 80s. And when you look back at, this guy writing this in the 80s, he's going to be having been influenced by stuff that predates it, obviously. So you've got a lot of it feels more like the 50s than the 80s to me.
Yeah.
Like Yarky, the island Yarky is very much stuck in time of an even earlier era than the 1980s. Like the Nazi punks smoking dope aside, like a lot of it is very much, there's this kind of like Leave It to Beaver element, but then there's an odd progressive note at the end where the grandfather finds out his daughter just fucked the scientist and is coming out of his bedroom. He's like, "Oh, I smell wedding cake."
What the?
Oh, yeah, I don't think it's cake you're smelling, buddy. That's
Okay.
One thing I did laugh, if I remember correctly, because I did try rereading it. I made it 50 pages, and I'm like, yeah, I remember pretty much this entire book.
Yeah.
But one thing I remember is like when she has sex at the end, her orgasm was like so big, everyone in the house heard it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she woke up
Like she
everybody.
exploded. And I'm like, sure, the virgin exploded. Mm-hmm.
That shit killed me. It's like every time when it's like when Stephen King writes a sex scene, and like he always has to let us know the woman climaxed 3 times.
I was just gonna sneak that in there. You guys caught that, huh?
It's just like it's just something that makes me laugh. Like it's not good writing or it's not good, but like it's just funny that someone feels the need to include that information in the book.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like, is it necessary? No. Then just leave it out of the book.
It's it's so crazy.
And this book's also like 400 pages when it should really have been like
250.
150 tops.
Oh yeah, it was way too long.
Like
because all the science.
God, and just it felt like it just kept going.
Yeah, especially when you get into those science part. I mean, my God, I said it before, but the complete disruption to the pacing is unbelievable. Like it just bogs it down so much.
It's like they were, talking about this, and then the part when the scientist and Elizabeth were at the beach, and they start talking about the Gulf Stream. And I'm like, and this has any importance to the story? How? It's like, are they going to guess, is the Gulf Stream going to stop because of the cockroaches? No, then maybe you should not have it in the book.
Oh my God.
It was a lot of stuff that I was like, okay, did this go by an editor? Because I don't think it did.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was Zebra.
It was, Zebra was like, they're infamous for like telling their writers to add more. And, like,
are you kidding?
Longer.
No.
I remember hearing an interview with Ronald Kelly, because Ronald Kelly got to start publishing for Zebra, and he'd send them like a manuscript that would be like 200 words or like 175 words.
You mean pages?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I can see them if he sent them a 200-word manuscript. They're like, hey, this needs a little bit more, Ron.
I mean, like 200 pages or like 175 pages, and they'd be like, "No, you gotta beef this up. We need more."
Yeah. We're not gonna publish this 1-page book.
Yeah,
no.
1 word per page. Boom.
So
okay.
Zebra was kind of infamous for like having people like
really pad it up.
Yeah.
I'm glad a lot of the
broke out everything he could for it's so overwritten. It's
and it's written in a style that's like very literary at the same time, which is like hilarious to me.
It's an odd style.
It really is, and it's also he kind of jumps between the like perspectives.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was really jarring. Like, especially, suddenly you were into the perspective of the cockroaches. And I'm like, wait, didn't they just say a couple of pages in they had no brains? So how can they think? and then you jump into the head of Peter, the scientist, and then into the Elizabeth. And it's not like even like a paragraph. It's in the same fucking sentence.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, there were definitely a few times where I had to try and trace back, like, who are we talking about here? Like, who's doing what in this paragraph?
But it's so overwritten.
It is overwritten. And for all of its flaws, and there are plenty of those, and its problematic issues and representation and how the women come across, especially since this very clearly predates things like The Final Girl of Horror. There's definitely no Ellen Ripley or Sarah Connor type arch character here.
Yeah.
I still have fun with it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, it's 80s trash. Like, what you're getting into with it. It's a book about killer cockroaches that has like an oddly sometimes Shakespearean bent to the writing of it.
That's a really
He definitely tries to gussy it up to be a little bit more than it is. But I mean, yeah, there's qualms, there's problems, but it's still a fun read all in all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I was kind of disappointed in the finale. It was a little bit anticlimactic in my opinion.
It's another part of the book that just goes on for too long.
Yes.
Yeah.
We had a natural ending, but then they have to do like the hand rising from the grave kind of thing and then continue carrying it on.
Yeah.
We get through all of this. They get through the nest. They destroy the brain. There's like 10% left to the book. And like Hubbard and Elizabeth are like, all right, let's get it on.
Yeah.
And they do. And it's like, okay, I guess that's a necessary epilogue. And then it's like, oh, wait, shit. No, this book is still going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we get to this point where Elizabeth goes to visit the grave and inadvertently stumbles across the second hive, the second nest where this offshoot brain has formed. And they're like, whatever agency, like she already has zero agency to begin with. And like whatever little she might have built up is completely dashed in that end where she runs into the house to get away from the roaches and goes up for some godforsaken reason to the roof and goes out to the widow's walk of the house. And the roaches are climbing up the side of the house. And all she can do is like stand there and scream, waiting for the firemen to save her that just conveniently were driving by.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's like, here's Elizabeth, who has been set up. Initially, it seemed like she was going to be a pretty decent woman character for the 80s, but then she just gets dressed down to little more than a caretaker for the lighthouse and a cook for the men until finally she is in need of rescuing by the men. It's like,
and what also
after
really
having fought her way out of the lighthouse during a previous roach invasion, it's like now she's got to be this milquetoast victim in waiting who's got to be saved.
And I also found that. Oh, also, by the way, did you notice that Bonnie, the only black character, was the only one who said motherfuckers?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's another racist thing. Okay.
I'm mostly just glad they didn't kill the only black character in the book, which this was the second time reading it, and I didn't have much recollection of her as a character, obviously, because she's not much of a character to begin with in this book.
She's not.
But I was convinced, like on my second read through, that she must have died within the first few waves of attacks because I couldn't remember it all. I was like, there's no way a black woman in a book written in the 80s from this guy is going to make it. And somehow she does.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, all right, well, I mean, at least he did that. That was good.
Yeah. But the thing what he did instead was, he kind of established that there was going to be maybe a love triangle, between Peter and Elizabeth and Wanda. But then he gets rid of Wanda. So Elizabeth doesn't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, no, she's free to proceed.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's typical.
Yeah, although that's one way to do it.
Even before her death, though, Wanda, if I remember correctly, made it clear to one of them, either Peter or Elizabeth, that she's not interfering. She doesn't have anything going on.
I think it was Peter who said that, but we kind of could have seen a little glimpses that Wanda was maybe pining a little bit for him. But when she noticed that he was, only looking at Elizabeth, she's like, okay, I'm going to be the professional here and back out.
Yeah. This scientist is a stud.
Yeah. Which is like the 80s too, because like in the 80s, the scientists were like the nerds.
Yeah.
It reminds
maybe it was the author's like redemption regarding that.
Yeah.
Or he might have been, might have been influenced by, Jaws, because, the guy was the scientist there. He was also
Dreyfus.
a stud.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it also reminded me of Killer Flies, which I don't think, Villamay,
Yes.
you were on the show at that point, but
No.
there's a scene in Killer Flies where this one scientist that they go to visit, he's like a massive womanizer. He has spare women's clothes in his apartment for the women he beds. And he like rips her underwear off. It's like, no, don't worry, I have extra for you. It's like,
So, Killer Flies wishes it was The Nest.
yes, that is
I will
true.
say, at least that one was shorter than this one.
That's true.
I mean, there's a definite through line. You know, these were very big books. This was a very common trope in the 80s with these kind of horror titles where you had killer flies, killer cockroaches, killer sharks, killer piranhas, tigers on the loose, a rabid monkey, a canine dog that's actually a robot.
Yeah, it was like a lot of like this kind of creature features.
Yes. Yeah.
I have should I read this book? You know that I have a book from Centipede Press that is The Hound. And it's told from the point of view of a dog named Baxter, who's a sociopath.
What?
No.
Damn it,
no.
Baxter, you know I don't speak Spanish.
Apparently he's taken home by a guy who's like a neo-Nazi and like
oh God.
Oh no.
Yeah. I have it on my bookshelf. I might read it soon.
Sounds like a trip.
It's like 1,000 pages.
Right. The new literary horror epic.
It's only like 180 pages.
I just how can you even get that much out of that?
No idea.
You know how much I love the animal as a point of view character protagonist.
So you loved it in this when we were.
That's one I might read. I might read Baxter's story.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this book. I'm just looking through random notes to pull out things. There was a boy with no skin on his skull, still trying to save the children.
Yes.
Let's see, cockroaches can open jars in this.
Oh yeah. I didn't really get what kind of jar. It was not a mason jar, was it?
I thought it was something like that. Maybe not like fully, but like it was supposed to have like a screw top, I thought.
No, it wasn't supposed to have screw tops. They kept saying like, "Oh, I wish you had brought screw top jars." And he was like scolding Wanda for it. She was like, "Come on, I was busy getting on a fucking flight for you."
Yeah. I figured it must have been just like a plastic top they put on there.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
It was just like a 2-liter.
Yeah.
Let's see. What other goofy notes did I have at the time? Sexy man doctor smokes a pipe while seducing Liz.
That's also what I kind of like pointed out as well. I was like, wait, a pipe? What, he's a hipster?
It was the 80s. You know, everyone had a pipe in the 80s.
That's the thing. I was like, oh, I hadn't noticed that.
Sweater.
Pipes are pretty common back then compared to like now.
Oh my God. Let's see. What other goofy things? Sheriff has his moment. He steps on a cockroach. Women cooking yet again, in quotes, put the pork to the beans, girls. That must have been a line from the book. Let's see. Scott hates the word mutation. I guess it took him a while to figure out it was cockroaches and not rats. Lots of vomit. I had lots of notes about vomit. It's something like
yeah.
Everyone vomits in this book.
Yeah, because they're attracted to the stink.
I even have a note that says so upset about the damn dog.
Right?
Oh my God. It's just funny to look back at.
Pour one out for Sharky
right now.
In the super brain. There was a super brain. I thought that was just such a bizarre thing.
I mean, it had to be. They couldn't have like a queen cockroach. It had to be a super brain.
Oh, well then, Villamay, you have definitely got to watch the movie.
Oh,
is there a super brain in that, or is it a queen?
Is it
the
a queen?
movie changes so much. I have been looking over my notes here. So Sheriff Amos becomes Sheriff Richard in the movie, and
because Amos is such a hard word.
Yes. So he had a past relationship with Elizabeth. Dr. Hubbard is now a woman, and an evil scientist.
Of course.
Who I guess is trying to get the roaches for her own ends. But the roaches ingest, they have been genetically modified, and whatever they ingest, they become, creating a hybrid of a hybrid. So
What?
in the
That's
finale,
what I kept seeing in the trailer. I was like, why am I seeing this like a huge gunk of a person with antenna?
right, exactly. So at the end, one of the cockroaches is like a cat cockroach hybrid. And then the cockroaches eat Hubbard. And so then you get the queen.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I really need to watch the movie.
Wow. That is crazy. I can't remember. Why were the cockroaches so crazy in this book?
Because it was like there was like they mutated them.
Yeah, it's a new kind of pesticide that they used, and it mutated them. Okay. So
it's all a message.
Yeah. For the third movie, my notes note that we have a third hybrid in the nest as the queen is revealed, and rather literally at that. She sits on a throne of human skulls and bloody skeletons.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Wow.
Hubbard, who is now a woman for the film, gets her arm torn off before her head is squeezed like a lemon. And Liz actually gets her moment as a heroine as she attacks the queen and is able to stab it with a stick before escaping.
So basically, she becomes the final girl in the movie.
Yeah. By the time the movie rolls around, they've gone more of like the final girl kind of concept with it. She becomes the heroine of the film that she was not in the book. She's got a little more agency as a reporter who's there to investigate this corporation that is performing these genetic experiments on the cockroaches and uncovering Dr. Hubbard's evil plans for the cockroaches.
Have you seen the cover for the movie?
Yes, it is.
It is, yeah.
A scantily clad woman with a giant roach clinging to her, trying to eat her.
Oh, I kind of felt like it was humping her. So I'm like,
well, we know
people might get the
idea. Granted.
Oh my god.
I will say though, for all the faults this book has, it's really fun, and it has a killer cover.
Yes.
The cockroach under moonlight.
Yeah, like that cover screams by me. Even if the text inside doesn't.
I mean, the film poster's not bad either. I'm going to give it some props.
Yeah. It's just the entire time I was reading it, I was like, I kept thinking to myself, I'm so fucking glad I don't have cockroaches here in Iceland.
Yeah, be glad for that.
Can I tell my cockroach story?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
So I was living in China for a while, as you guys know.
Sorry, I'm Googling images from the net.
Oh, damn.
Common over there. Like, you can keep the cleanest apartment, and you're still going to get cockroaches.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
And so, it was my last night in China, my very last night, and I was sleeping. And
No. I
don't like where this is going either.
And I felt something on my leg.
No.
And I slapped my legs together. It stopped, and I went back to sleep because I was just like tired to begin with.
No.
And I was a dead cockroach in my bed, like on my leg. Shit.
Oh god.
Oh my god. Okay. I got another cockroach story. It didn't happen here in Iceland, of course, because we don't have cockroaches. But when I was living in Japan, I was told that there would be there are cockroaches there, but they never told me how big they fucking were.
Oh, they're huge.
They're huge, and they fucking fly.
Yep.
We lived in it wasn't that old of an apartment. I think it was relatively new, but we noticed that there was like some places that were just a hole, not like in the bathroom. There was like a hole where the toilet was, and I'm like, I'm gonna put a lot of cockroach traps there. Not gonna have those things while I'm on the toilet in the middle of the night. And it happened one day, one night actually, when I got home from school, and we had just finished eating, and we were just watching something on television. And suddenly, I just look up where the ceiling is, right where the kitchen is located. It was a really small apartment. And I see like something wiggling out of a small little fucking crevice.
Oh no.
And I just like, oh my God. And I like kind of grabbed my husband's sleeve. I'm like, guy, there's a cockroach there, I think. And and he's like, oh really? And he goes to get the pesticide. And this fucking thing, as soon as he started spraying it, it wiggled out of the fucking crevice and flew towards me.
Okay.
Oh.
Like it was like in the fucking book, it was going for my eyes. And my husband told me, I think I might have blacked out or something like that, because he told me he killed the cockroach, thankfully. But he said like, okay, we might maybe expect a police officer coming here, because I think the neighbors probably think I killed you. You were screaming so much. I screamed till my throat was raw. And I don't think I slept at all after that, in that apartment after. I was like, no. Kept the pesticide, hugging it to my chest. And
cockroaches are no fucking joke. They're like, they creep me out too.
I hate them. I hate them so much. The things that I'm not that fussed about bugs, but cockroaches, centipedes, and huge ass spiders, I can't handle them.
Well, it's a good thing you read The Nest recently instead of before your little experience.
Dear God, yes.
If you guys have a moment, you should Google The Nest 1988 film for some of the pictures of what the hybrids look like. And you can tell that they were going full on trying to emulate The Fly. Goldblum with some of their hybrids.
I am looking this up.
There's one guy with blue hair and mandibles and like a giant roach on his chest.
Oh my gosh.
And roaches in his limbs that are helping animate.
This is amazing.
You can see the cat cockroach hybrid.
Oh, this is amazing.
So like, what's funny is as you were describing it before seeing these, I was like, oh, that sort of makes sense. It's probably cheaper to put somebody in a costume than to animate, cockroaches. But I don't know now. I'm looking at this work, and this is actually really good. It probably cost them a ton to do this, too.
I will say, looking at my notes, it looks good, but they don't do much. They just, like the cat cockroach hybrid basically just stands there. It doesn't have a lot of mobility.
No, I think at one point they threw. Yeah, I think at one point they threw it at a person.
Yeah. I mean, it's great looking effects, but they're not really mobile. There's no animatronic aspects to it. They're just kind of there to look neat and then get dispatched.
The cat hide looks fantastic, though.
What this tells me then is they could only afford the bug wrangler for like half a day, and then the rest of it was.
I would imagine that played a lot into it. Like, okay, how much is it going to actually cost to get all of these cockroaches? And then you've got to look at safety of the cockroaches to make sure that PETA doesn't get on your ass if somebody steps on the cockroach.
Right. Yeah. They're like sitting there. Hey, Steve. Yeah. Your cousin. He owns cockroaches, right? Oh yeah, I totally own cockroaches. Get your buddy Steve's cousin. Get him over here. Dude, I can only bring him here for half an hour. All right. That's all we need. Half an hour cockroaches. We got these stupid puppets in the back. We'll make them work.
Like The Nest is pure 80s schlock.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the movie doubles down on that schlock even harder by trying to emulate The Fly and updating the material to kind of get more in line with like 80s horror sensibilities with the final girl and evil scientists running amok.
Yep.
It's the best and worst about 80s horror fiction in one book.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a fun read, though.
Yeah, it's still a fun read.
That scenes are super fun.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely problematic. There's definitely issues. It's very much a time capsule of 1980s horror, for better and worse.
But I'd say it's worth the read. Just if you're like into the genre, it's worth to read just for like its historical release as an 80s schlock novel.
Yes.
And like kind of seeing where 80s horror was and how much the genre's evolved since this book came out.
It had a lot of notoriety, and that notoriety was examined by Grady Hendrix with Paperbacks from Hell. And Valancourt reissued it under their Paperbacks from Hell banner.
This was
it's very.
I was gonna say this is the first of the they had like, I don't know how many runs they're on now, maybe 3. This was the first run of their little series of Paperbacks from Hell. Mm-hmm. And it was a good kickoff. I read a couple of the other ones in the first series and I was kind of about, but this one was probably the best one of the bunch.
I haven't read the rest of them yet. I did buy all of them, including like their most current one. I just got Gwen in Green in the mail the other day.
Oh, nice.
Sounds really great. And the cover on that one is gorgeous.
Yeah. The Lisa Tuttle collection I thought was really good.
Okay, I haven't read that one. I read The Tribe, and then what was the other one? There was like a house one where...
Oh, the Bernard Taylor one?
I think it's that one with the infamous massage scene.
Yeah, that was Bernard Taylor.
Yeah, it's like
I love Bernard Taylor.
There was a lot of nothing in that book, and then that scene comes out of nowhere, and you're like, "Wait, what's happening?" And then a lot of nothing happens afterwards.
Oh, well, that's a shame. I have a lot to catch up on, though.
Yeah, well,
I'm excited for the release of Carl Edward Wagner. Like,
yes, I'm excited for that and Carnosaurus.
Me too.
I just can't get over that.
I think Carnosaurus.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Having read some of the other stuff that Harry Knight wrote out, that's actually a pseudonym for 2 co-writers. And I want to say that they did The Fungus and Slime, I think. And just based off of those 2, Carnosaurus is a fucking must read. I have to have that book when it comes out. It's going to be great. I know.
So now, is that the movie based on the book? Or
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
right, I'm on board.
I had to talk to the dog in the room real quick.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, you're all good. Had to go talk to Sharky.
Eagerly.
Oh God.
Well, I will say I think next week's gonna be a lot of fun talking to a Chad Lutz, cannibal creator.
Yes, I think so.
Definitely.
And we could talk about his love of Italian cannibal movies.
Yes. Oh man, get ready. Yeah, I'm a little less than halfway through. It sounds like Mike. What, you're halfway through already?
I am at 53% right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yes, it is.
So.
Lutsky is great though. Like I love his stuff.
Yeah,
agreed. So next week, Cannibal Creator with Chad Lutsky, episode 101.
Yes, can you believe it? 100 episodes.
This is episode 100 in the can. We made it, you guys. We made it.
We did.
And before we sign off, Mike, where can our listeners get in touch with you?
If you need to, I'd rather you didn't, but you can find me on Twitter at MikeH5856 or
at NFTlover.com.
Yes. Find out what I'll do for NFTs.
Actually, real quick, because I don't think we've ever said this. I can't even remember what episode we changed our music, but I figured we should call it out at least that we did update the intro and outro. And I did at least want to say that it's Gregorio Franco who produced our intro and outro theme. And you should check his stuff out. He's on Bandcamp. I appreciate the dark synthiness that he gave us. And I figured for at least episode 100, I should at least say his name.
But theme.
Yes, our intro theme.
Yes.
So he did that, and he's got a lot of other awesome stuff out there. So check him out, Gregorio Franco. I am on Twitter at BrandonbergDM.
And Vitlamay.
You can find me on Twitter at VitlamayS, and you can also find my little booktube channel on YouTube called Fanked Pipsqueak Reads, where I review indie books.
You can find me on Twitter at Rudy53088, where I have my hot takes about NFT investment and cryptocurrency and how to get rich quick. In order for me to tell you how to get rich quick, because you're not getting rich if I'm not getting rich. You can also follow the podcast at Into Staring, where I'm also offering NFT and crypto services for a fee, because if you're not getting rich, I'm not getting rich. This is Sterlak saying keep staring.